and here we go. I can't see myself, but I got the green light, and every time I get a green light but can't see myself, I know that it's happening. So I kind of have to be ready to start yapping before I even have a confirmation that I am live, which sometimes makes me feel a bit, hmm, wonder, am I gone completely? So, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Money Matters. My name is Nab, and today is Saturday. Goodness gracious, it's the end of the month. Thanksgiving is over. What in the world is going on? Well, there's a lot going on in the world, and we're going to be discovering some of it. Probably not all of it, because there's just so much happening. Anywhere from potential assassinations to additional vaccines that might or might not work, that you might or might not want to get into. There are countries still competing on the world monetary power kind of thing happening, and we're going to cover some of those things, but not all of those. I do want to welcome everybody who is watching this live. It is super early on a Saturday, and if you're here, feel free to say hello, sign in, say hello. I am right here, super happy to say hello back to you. If you are liking what you are seeing, well, smash the like button, subscribe, hit bell notification, and you get notified every time we go live, which is just about every single day. If you are on one of the podcasting services and you are listening to this show, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing evolution that we're going through together. And I'm talking about the life as a whole. So, what in the world are we going to be discussing today? Well, a little bit, we're going to be looking a bit more into the crypto stuff because every time I look at every other information and news, A, it's ugly. B, it's depressing. C, everybody was talking first about the whole do we still have a president, which seems like, we get news that it says we do, and then it gets reverted back. So I got nothing. I still don't know if we have a president into 2021. I have no clue. There's that battle happening. Then there's the whole battle of the stimulus yes, stimulus no. I don't even know why people get excited about the darn thing, because until I receive money, I'm not celebrating, right? They've met one too many times, and the answer was always no. So, call me crazy, but if I ask somebody out 15 times and they tell me no, I don't know that I'm going to be as eager asking the 16th time. Just putting it out there, maybe I'm the one who has lost all his marbles, and that's okay. Then you go out there and everything else that's been happening is like what's going to be on a Black Friday sale, which, by the way, people have lost all their marbles, and, we get so excited about wanting to spend our hard-earned cash that we are willing to fight with other humans for yet another TV or a pair of socks, trample over each other, and of course, the number one virus that potentially could eliminate the planet, depending on how you see the world and how you see COVID. Well, that's irrelevant as long as I can get a good deal. Clearly, these folks have not heard of a thing called internet and computer, because vast majority of everybody else was shopping online. And online shopping, well, it's definitely been on a pace to outpace everything else before, which we kind of knew was going to happen, because prior to now, many businesses were not even online. You kind of had to go to the store to buy things, and so if you wanted to get that seventh TV for your living room, and now you have more TVs than chairs, well, you had to go to the store and fight with folks. But today, that's a little bit different, and so folks were going online and shopping. Now, if a Black Friday was all online shopping, and today is a small business shopping, but again, you're going to have to do it online, what is the Cyber Monday going to be called now, right? Is that going to be like an online 2.0? Like, I don't know. Because Cyber Monday was developed to get people, we used to have one day of shopping. Now, well, it's pretty much the entire weekend. Which is, by the way, if you are dying of shopping and spending your cash, hey, at least do it in a way where you're going to get something amazing out of it. Like assets that can grow in value, maybe an amazing experience in your life, right? Something unforgettable that you're going to always recall. And maybe, just maybe, getting yourself improved in some sort of way. So whether that is an education course or any of that stuff, that's how I view the world. But then again, that's just me. All right, y'all. Enough yapping. Let's do this. All right. Well, here we are on a beautiful Saturday, and it's time to take a beautiful look at the beautiful markets. You know, nobody should be this excited at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I am. But I am. I get super excited when it's a morning because, it means a couple of things. A, I get to find out what in the world is going on. B, I get to find out of like, hey, how do I, get myself in front of the folks and say hello? So hello. And then I get to have my coffee and my breakfast and get to learn things and build stuff. And so I'm super excited every morning to wake up. All right, y'all. So what's happening in the markets? Well, Bitcoin is sitting right now at about $17,112.48. So as you will recall, we were at that like 19.5. Some people are saying 19.6. Whatever. What's $100 between friends when you're in that high in the skies, right? And we then hit 16.2, and since then we've actually come up to 17.1ish, right? And I know many people are here like, is this good? Is this bad? Are we dumping? No, this is going to crash. Some people are saying, but I personally, I don't know how you feel about the whole thing. I personally would absolutely love if Bitcoin could actually drop to a few pennies. Hey, if I could get, $1,000 at a penny of Bitcoin way back when it was that way, I would not complain. I'd be okay with it. Now, I do know that many people might say, ooh, yes, but it is very scary when the price kind of, drops and drops severely, right? And many people are like, yes, I would totally do that. But I also know that when it dropped down to 3 grand, people are like, oh, I don't know. It dropped down to 3 grand. Should I buy it? So a lot of the stuff with investing, a lot of it has to do with your mindset. And you really got to think through, who you are and how you behave. And, it's super easy to get excited when everything goes well, right? When everything is going extremely awesome. When you are making money and business is doing stuff and wheels are turning and no noise is being made and you're like, yes, that's what it is. But those moments in life are super rare, at least my life. And I don't know, maybe, just maybe, I do believe in karma, but maybe just maybe I was a super horrible human being in a past life, right? Because I don't get that. It happens every so often. It's super rare. I can probably count it like on half of the fingers of one hand, right? So it's not even that many times that it all kind of goes smoothly. The moment something goes well, something else doesn't. So there's always things in life that kind of go through it, and I think you just kind of have to accept it. So for me, you got to think through of like, when we were pumping at that 19,000, everybody was like super excited, like, yeah, well, look at us, we're doing this. And I'm like, yeah, we're really excited, but this thing is going to come down because it just had to. It just had to. So I don't know that I would freak out much about it. Again, I don't know how you feel about it. Let me know. Super excited to hear from you. Ethereum is at 516.46 cents. Again, not much up or down movement. I mean, point 0.5 and point 0.6, I would call that flat if you ask me personally. XRP, we do actually have a little bit of XRP news, so stay tuned for that. And okay, Ripple news, let's be honest, not XRP news, Ripple news. But it's up at 3.1%. If that thing is still holding really strongly in 7 days, it's 71%, and it's now at 55 cents. And there's other numbers behind that 55 cents, but in the US dollar terminology, we don't have that. Well, Tether, whatever. Link is up 2% in 24 hours, trading at $12.64. Bitcoin Cash 267.17, up 0.3%. Uh, Bitcoin Cash's fork, what I have read, is experiencing some problems and challenges. Where I guess one of the developers, validators, nodes, however you want to call it, cracked into the whole thing, changed the Coinbase version of everything else, and is basically stealing money. So there you go. The drama continues. Gotta love Bitcoin Cash. There's always some sort of drama saga thing going on. I don't know, y'all. To each their own. That's not for me. That's not for me. ADA is up 11.4% in 24-hour period, pumped 30%, 30.4%, and it's sitting now at 15 cents. Litecoin is still down about 15% in 7 days, but up 2% 24 hours, currently at $70.17. And another really exciting story is Stellar, XLM, up 10.7% over the 24-hour period, up a whopping $137. Sorry, not $137. My apologies. 137% over the course of 7 days. Currently sitting pretty at 20 cents. So we'll see kind of how it goes. Overall, the markets are basically neutral-ish. We don't have, many huge gainers. Yes, we have some. NMR is interesting. Look at this. So it's supposed to sort from the top to the bottom, right? So Zen is 24-hour 15.6, but they put it in a second spot, and NMR at a 15%, but they have it in first spot. So I don't know what's going on with CoinGecko, but hey, CoinGecko, you might want to fix this if you're watching this. DCR up 13.1%, ADA 11.4, Exam 10.6. So a few movers and shakers on the losing end, nothing really huge. Energy Web is probably the biggest loser at 6.7. Kusama negative 5. Ampleford negative 3.4. Again, see, Quant negative 3.8, but they have it in a fourth spot. So I don't know what's happening with CoinGecko, but I hope that they will fix it soon. All right, it's time to get into the news. So get yourselves ready. You gotta move it and shake it. All right, so clearly Nev has had too much coffee today. All right, here we go. MoneyGram. Why in the world are we talking about MoneyGrams when we're talking about cryptograms? Well, because Ripple had invested in a MoneyGram not that long ago, and now they're dumping their MoneyGram stuff. So what happened? Well, Ripple currently owns 6.22 million shares, equivalent to 8.6% in outstanding shares of MoneyGram, and warrant to buy another 5.95 million shares. However, and they held a total of 12.2 million shares, equivalent to 17% stake in the company. However, they have filed for selling 1/3 of its shares in MoneyGram. And now you're thinking, wait a minute. It's a crypto company. No. Ripple is a corporation, right? Ripple is a corporation, right? And their stock is probably super valuable. They do have some really good stuff kind of going on. The XRP project, sounds really good, and you think you're getting something for it, but it turns out the more you dig into it, it's really a way for them to get cash to do some stuff and pump their stock. But you can't get their stock. So that's where the problem is. So that's kind of where it's happening. Again, there's a lot of people that are very bullish on the XRP. I used to be, I won't lie, when I thought that they're going to change the world of digital banking and stuff. But I don't think that that is going to be the case. I think Stellar actually has a much more stellar way of doing it. There you go, a Uh, but you know, CBDCs are coming. There's no stopping it. I actually have some news about that as well. But before we do that, we got to take a look at a little bit of stuff that has happened with the compound. So if you know anything about DeFi projects, you probably are familiar with compound, and there were some problems happening within it that caused a bit of DAI liquidation. Now, if you don't know what DAI is a basically decentralized version of a US dollar. It's kind of runs on its own and sort of goes up and down in price slightly to kind of try to keep that 1-to-1 ratio. And it's different from something like USDC or Tether because USDC is centralized, as we covered here on the channel. It came out of, basically Celsius and Coinbase, right? And so that's kind of how that puppy came about. And it's kind of cool because you have two companies that are well known, well connected, and I have my own conspiracy theory that I shared already that I think that USDC might become the USCBDC. I could be wrong. This is super speculative. I don't have any special news or anything like that. It's FUD, nev FUD only, right? So that's one piece to kind of know. But the second piece is that you have something like Tether, which is growing in popularity. Many people use it and stuff. But it's also something that the regulators are not really liking. I know that over in New York, they're looking for ways to shut them down. Will they? Will they not? I don't know. The battleground is definitely there. So I won't touch Tether with the 10-foot pole personally, just because of that stuff. And nobody knows, do they own it, do they not? So no. If I can't verify it, I'm not interested in it. So that's one piece. And then, you have DAI, for example, as one of the options as well. So anyways, what had happened? Well, over $1.3 billion was liquidated from exchanges, and DeFi saw its own share of liquidation as DAI prices on Coinbase Pro escalated rapidly, leading to the liquidation of over 85 million DAI borrowed from Compound. What happened? Well, Compound used a faulty oracle. They decided to go with Coinbase, and it didn't perform as well. So what happened? Well, people decided to kind of go back and forth, and of course folks over from Uniswap were like, you should have used us, and somebody else is like, shut up, man. Your stuff, you keep shelling it, but it doesn't work. It hasn't worked in a very long time, and Coinbase has its own challenges and problems, which we're going to cover in later on in the show. So stay tuned for that, because the New York Magazine is out and the dirt is out with it. So not only is the Coinbase struggling with their oracle, cannot provide the correct pricing, they're also struggling with staying open and allowing for the traders to actually get their money in and out when we see large moves, right? So we've seen that time and time again. And now apparently, if your color of a skin is something different than whites, there might be a problem for you if you're connected with Coinbase. Allegedly, I don't work there. I don't know anybody that works there. I don't visit there, so I have no clue. But that's what allegedly is happening. And again, we'll take a look at the news. So what does this actually mean over here for DAI? Well, that means that liquidation has happened. And what actually has happened is that many people are saying, maybe you should use something like Chainlink, because every time we see some of the challenge with the Oracle performance is that it has been, anything but Chainlink. So I, very bullish on Chainlink because they seem to have their stuff right. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. Could I be spreading fake news here? Maybe, just maybe. I mean, I'm saying it's my opinion, right? I don't know. But we are definitely seeing this stuff, and that's kind of what they're saying is that, everything else that folks have tried to use hasn't really worked. And I'm saying, well, if we have things that work, then work with what works. But now it's time to switch over to the banking sector. Well, wait a minute. We've already been talking about banking sector. We just call it crypto. But soon enough, it's all going to be one thing. It's all going to be finance. Now we have fintech, and we have finance, and we have crypto, and at some point in the future, it's all going to be just basically finance. So that's kind of how the kids are going to know it. And that's what's going to come over there. So, what is happening? Well, this article is really interesting because it talks about sort of innovation, how innovation happens in the banking sector and the big tech sector. And it's a very interesting article that comes our way that I wanted to kind of point out and share with you, especially if you are a type of person who's maybe an entrepreneur and you're thinking, I have some ideas and stuff, but like, should I build this? Should I not? Well, as you know, banks are outdated in so many ways. Their programming is really outdated, and right now, COBOL is the programming language that they use for their stuff. Now, COBOL hasn't been used in gosh know how long. I remember way back when, in the last century, as they say, when I was in high school, and we had this like you know uh, whatever it was, like a IT kind of class. There was, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was basically, right, like a computer literacy class of some sort, and they were teaching us programming languages, right? That's what the class was for, right? Uh, and it was very interesting because it was basics, it was parts of COBOL, and I'm trying to remember what other programming language. And like, none of those languages are around. I mean, they're around, but they're not really used. You know what I mean? Like, you don't use basics to go out and develop, a website nowadays, right? You use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python. If you're right, like, so we don't use many of these things, but unfortunately, and they're not taught in schools anymore, right? And so, but unfortunately, banks are built on that, and so they don't have anybody to kind of come in, so they try to sort of like patch it, and it's basically like a cardboard boat held by duct tape and chewing gum so that it doesn't sink. And that's where the banking system is right now. And then, of course, they have this Swift thing that they're also trying to use it as a weapon, but it's this like semi broken kind of clunky thing that is barely working. And people are basically giving middle finger to US and the Swift system and starting to develop their own thing. For example, China is definitely building partnership outside of the US, as is Iran, as is Russia. And you might say, who cares? Who cares? Well, you should care because, when you take a look at a map, pull out your little map thing, pull out your little globe, open it up, and take a look at the size, just the size of the land that Russia and China combined have. It's pretty much 80% of Asian continent, right? Okay, it's not that much, but pretty darn close to it, right? So India is sort of like wanting to kind of play nice with them and play nice with us. So that's kind of where they are. Brazil is also a powerhouse. They have their problems. Everybody has problems, right? But they're a powerhouse too, and they're also trying to figure out, okay, we want to play with these guys and we want to play with these guys. So you have some of the other large players that are trying to play with both, and and then you have the rest of the Western kind of world that is trying to figure out, like, how do we stay together. But even then, Europe and the United States have a lot of disagreements. Now, I don't know if it has to do with current leadership, whatever. We could argue, but there are many problems that are happening over here, and we're going to be looking at some of the stuff. But anyway, so what do banks do? Well, banks don't innovate, right? They don't innovate. The tech companies, the large tech companies, don't innovate. What do? Well, what happens is, what happens is that they go out there and they find potentially like an article writer, a news reporter, an investigative reporter, that kind of stuff, and they tell a story of all the problems that they have, and then they sit and wait, and then you have all these entrepreneurs, eager individuals who are saying, I know how to solve this problem, so they go out and start building on it, right? And so next thing that you have happen, well, they go out there and they create this sort of accelerators and that kind of stuff where they put in a little bit of money, help the company out, that kind of thing. And then when they get it going, when they get it running, when the risks are much lower and they can kind of prove the concept actually works, They just go in and acquire it for basically pennies of what it's going to be worth. And the startup is super happy because, they started probably from nothing, working in some sort of basement, garage, backyard, attic, car, van, truck, whatever, right? Working on old computers, trying to get things figured out, like super talk about, like, bootstrapping your way to success. And then you have something like, maybe Google or Facebook or whatever offer you, 100 million, and you feel like you made it, but to them that is worth at least 100 billion, if not more. So it's a very interesting kind of concept, and that's what the strategy is, to basically go and acquire startups that actually have some ground behind it. And a similar thing is what banks are now starting to think through and say, well, maybe we should start reconsidering of how we do banking. So instead of fixing things, maybe we should start looking at those that are creating stuff and developing things, and how do we put them in it. This is where central banks are actually kind of coming in. And we have news from Russian central bank. That's right. We're going to go to Russia right now, because you already know that China is rolled their puppy out. They've already been testing it multiple times. And with every test, they get more data, more information, and that their digital currency becomes that much stronger and more ready to hit the general population. So Russia is actually saying, all right, y'all, it's time to go in this stuff and start developing things. So several bank executives are concerned about the consequences of going ahead with the Russian digital currency. Most commercial banks don't take seriously the idea that the digital ruble would become the third form of domestic currency. And I think it's all a joke, and of course they're very, very concerned and don't like it, because why? We've been covering it over here. They become irrelevant in the system, because if the central bank can actually, with a few programmers out there, go and create all these incentives and moves and lending and gifting programs, then why the heck do you need a bank for, right? Maybe for safety deposit boxes, right? But you have Brinks for that, right? So they become irrelevant. If they become irrelevant, then yeah, be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Now, what they're saying is that they're going to combine a digital capabilities of non-cash and cash currency. And chairman of the board of a Russian standard bank was saying that they would support the model in which the service components can be implemented inside the banks, but where the regulator has a full control of the digital ruble account, it would leave no room for banks, and it would even cause a bank run. That's right, it would leave absolutely no room for banks, and that's one thing that banks are now starting to realize, and they're starting to, intelligent ones, the smart ones, are starting to pivot. That's why you see something like JP Morgan Chase, for example, starting to excuse me, starting to get into the development space within crypto, creating their, JP coin and that stuff. It might not be successful, but they're trying to pivot. They're trying to figure out, like, how are we going to thrive in this new economy. Then we switch over from Russia. Let's go over to Germany. That's right. We'll come back to the United States, where, we sort of did a little bit of across the globe view of things. But I don't know how to kill this, y'all, so my apologies. There's no X sign. But Germany's head finance official discussed the pressing need for European digital currency, and that all happened yesterday. So Russia was 2 days ago, Germany is yesterday. These folks are trying, they want to move super fast. This is coming from the Minister Scholz. On the digital euro, I think we should work very hard. It is nothing where we should wait and see. He is very much against non-centralized cryptocurrency, and I think when they say here that he's against non-centralized cryptocurrency, I don't think he also particularly enjoys centralized tokens that are held by companies, which, by the way, for the record, right here in November of 2020, I do believe that, the cryptocurrency model of the companies is going to become the new stock market. I think that the old stock market is, well, old stock market. And just like old paper money, it's going to go away. I don't think it's going to exist in the near future. That's just kind of how I see the world. I don't know if I'm right, but I think I might be. We'll see. Only time will tell. Now, I did promise from Germany we're going to go to United States, and to United States we have arrived. I know it doesn't look like US, it looks like a spaceship with the little crypto looking coin thing, but I promise this is United States. US Director of National Intelligence has reportedly penned a letter to SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, expressing concern that China controls Bitcoin and crypto. They are basically super dominant over the world's cryptocurrency mining sector. And that is absolutely true because when you take a look at the mining pools and you start looking at the biggest ones, you will notice that, my gosh, Chico Crypto actually did a video on that. If you're interested to watch it, it's on YouTube. So please do. Super love his channel. Again, he doesn't know me. He doesn't pay me, so I just like to share the resources because I really like the stuff that he does. And so he also talked about this whole thing, how vast majority of the pools are coming from China. And so he's basically saying that, there's really strong dominance of China in this cryptocurrency mining sector. And he's saying that the SEC needs to implement a regulatory framework to make it easier for US owned cryptocurrency companies to operate and compete with, excuse me, not just China, but the world in general. He's also worried that unclear and stringent regulatory policies from the SEC are putting American companies in the digital currency space at a disadvantage on the world stage. And I agree. They're making it really, really, really challenging to be able to do much of anything. And a lot of times, when you have regulations, which I'm not completely against regulations, but when you have a lot of regulations and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of not necessarily guidance and stuff, it's really hard to figure out of like, what do I need to do and how do I need to launch? I mean, that's kind of where we find ourselves right now, with the projects that I am working on. That like, okay, we have some stuff and like, okay, how do you navigate this whole thing so you don't land in freaking jail, right? Because and all you're trying to do is just improve the world and make it better. So you have to deal with all of the regulators and the attorneys and all of that stuff, and the costs are ridiculously high, making it a huge barrier to entry into some of the markets. So that's kind of where I think and how I feel about it. And now it's time to see, well, where are we going to go when it comes to Bitcoin? So you know that we had fallen. I did give you my thoughts and opinions how I would actually, at this moment in time, like to buy more Bitcoin at a penny. And you know what? I'll settle for a dollar. I'll settle for a dollar. Heck, I'll even take it at 100, right? But it's like I said, it's easier said than done. And when it dumps, it's really, really challenging to do it. And then you have news such as this, where you have some very much renowned economists to kind of go out and basically call you a sucker. So, what does it say? Well, it says retail suckers dumped by manipulative whales. This is coming from Nouriel Roubini, who is a very prominent American economist and a popular crypto critic. That's right. So he claims that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value and is heavily manipulated. So on the value piece, we're going to cover that in a moment. But on the heavily manipulated piece, yes, there's some manipulation in it. However, if you want to talk about heavy manipulation, all you got to do is just look at anything that has financial anything attached to it. People do it all the time. People lie, cheat, steal, kill for money. Don't ask me why they do it, but they do it. And we see this happening with banks, large and small. I don't know about killing part, but cheating and manipulating part for sure. You see it in the stock market. You see it happen with bonds. You see it happen with precious metals. You see it happen with real estate. You see it happen with mortgages. You see it happen everywhere. So don't even get me started on the whole thing of like, Well, BTC is heavily manipulated. Everything is manipulated. Everything is manipulated. There's not a single thing that is absolutely pure. And out of all of that stuff, I believe that Bitcoin, as more people go in, as the mining kind of expands and just leaves the hands of a few and it gets into the hands of many, and we all start running our own nodes to verify stuff on our own computers the way that it was meant for it to be, well, the manipulation starts slowing down and slowly going away because it's also a public blockchain that everybody can verify, and there's not much that can happen behind the hidden doors and secrets. Quote also that he had said, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. It's not backed by any asset. It is not a legal tender. It cannot be used to pay taxes. All right, let's talk about this. Well, what is value? I mean, no, seriously. I want you to sit down and ask yourself, what is actually value? What is valuable? You know, they do say that some people's trash is another person's treasure, right? And that's because the value is in the eye of a beholder. And if many of us find ourselves believing that the value of something is X, then that's what the value of it is. He's saying it's not by backed any asset. Well, what is an asset? No, again, ask yourself the hard question. What is an asset? You see, the economists like to use these big words so that they sound super smart. But when you start asking them to break things down and start thinking deeper into it, they have no clue how to explain it to you because they themselves don't quite understand it. So what is an asset? Well, it's something that now or in the future can actually provide you with some sort of cash value, right? So then we could say, well, is car an asset? I don't know. Sometimes they call it an asset. I personally call it a liability. Why? Well, because when I buy the car today, unless I'm buying some sort of like a unique, one of a kind, doesn't exist, at which point I'm basically buying art, the price is going to go down. It's going to go down in value. It's going to, cost me money over the time that I have it. And so is it really an asset? Well, you could potentially get some money for it. Okay, cool. Then shoes are assets too. Because while they're losing money and stuff, I could potentially go out and list my old pair of sneaks on eBay for, I don't know, $5 and, then it's an asset. Or is asset something that only makes money passively, which would be, in my humble opinion, a more correct version of an asset, that you purchase something that not only does it hold a value, but also pays you along the way. Well, in that case, 99% individuals don't own any assets because your home, on one hand, they say it's an asset. On the other hand, if you follow the methodology that only the positive cash flow coming your way is something you can call an asset, well, your home is no longer an asset. So what is an asset? He's saying it's not backed by any asset, right? Many people will agree that, a home is an asset. But is it backed by an asset, right? So Bitcoin is an asset. What is it backed by? It's backed by code, right? So it's the same thing. Like, what is gold backed by? What is it backed by? What is the value? What is the intrinsic value of gold? It's a shiny piece of metal that we all collectively around the world for a very long time believe that it holds value. That's it, because it's rare, right? So it holds value. But is it not? Cash. Is cash, what is the intrinsic value of cash? It's because the government's told us that, hey, you can pay, it's a legal tender, so you can use it, right? They sort of blessed it in their own little way, and, they say pay taxes. But they're saying, he says, it's not a legal tender, it cannot be used to pay taxes. Well, neither can a stock. Can you take a share of Apple and send it over to IRS to pay your taxes? You can. Is it an asset? Yeah, because people believe that it is and it has a value to it, right? But it's not a legal tender. Gold. You can't take gold. You can't ship a bar of gold to IRS to pay your taxes. And you can't really go to the store and buy a freaking piece of fruit for your gold bar or gold coin. But many people believe that it's an asset. So this is the part of stuff that I go in, and I'd love to be able to go and say, explain this to me, because you're arguing something that makes no sense whatsoever. Now, he did also say that the retail suckers with massive FOMO have been jumping again into BTC as they did in late 2017. And again, he is wrong. I am sorry, Mr. Rubini, but you are grossly wrong. Who has been jumping into the Bitcoin market lately have been large corporations, family offices, and incredibly wealthy individuals and their funds, not the retail sector. Sure, there might have been some retail sector individuals that have come in along the way, but they did not come en masse like they did in 2017. The mass is not yet to come until 21 or 22, in my humble opinion, and by that point, the price of Bitcoin is going to go much, much higher. And hey, by then, we might even see a central bank, just like corporations right now use it as their private treasury. We might see a central bank do the same thing for them. And now we have additional information that is coming in from the renowned trader Peter Brand. Says that BTC is likely to see a further correction, and they're expecting it to go down a bit further. Some of the other ones are saying, you know what? No, it's still bullish because people are not jumping on exchanges and they're still holding in their wallets. Now, the price of the stuff, they're saying, well, we don't really know what is going to happen. They're saying that part of it, of the dump, has to do with potential rumors that the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, is planning to change rules governing the U.S. of non-custodial wallets, and basically saying, you know, we don't want you to hold your own wallet. Why don't you just give it to a place like Coinbase? Oh no! Well, I did say we got to talk about Coinbase, and talk we will. New York Times actually did publish the article about the Coinbase race policies and problems, and they're basically saying that 23 of Coinbase's black employees have reported discrimination. 15 of those have left. Now, earlier this year, right before we were going into the election, the CEO of Coinbase did roll out an article that basically says we are a political company and we're not going to be talking about this stuff, which led 60 employees to quit. Coinbase employs too few minority workers as compared by some of the other companies within the space. Now, they did respond to controversy. Coinbase did. They actually rolled out the pieces well before they were trying to preemptively strike of what's going on and what the New York Times is going to roll out, and they were rolling out their own kind of thing. And I'm thinking, you know, you do that, I mean, we all know you're guilty. You know what I mean? When you gotta preemptively restrike before, like, you got caught, man. You got caught. And I don't know if this is fact. I don't know if it's true. You know, New York Times does say we're paper of record. I don't know that that's also true, you know. We have had sometimes incorrect information roll out. So we'll see how it all turns out, but it is an interesting piece of the story. And I do want to end on a positive note. Just like I was saying, I do believe that Bitcoin and all of the crypto projects are just right now in its infancy, right? We are just learning how to crawl. That's where we are right now in the space. We're not walking, we're not running, we're not sprinting, and we're definitely not jumping or pole vaulting over anything. Okay? What we are doing is figuring out how to roll and crawl. That's where we are in the crypto space, but we are growing up and we are moving fast. And here is super exciting piece coming from the Daily Huddle and Michael Saylor saying Bitcoin will be bigger than Apple, Amazon, and Facebook combined, and only 1% of investors will understand why. So it's I have highlighted a few pieces, bits and pieces that I believe are really important, so I'm going to share those with you right now. A lot of people understand the asset story of Bitcoin. We just talked about it, right? We understand that the story that the fiat currency is evaporating into thin air. with more of it being printed, with more of it kind of being created, with the valuations of the inflation, trying to come in and really push things in, even though we've been dealing with the severe deflation right now and we're still dealing with it. Could inflation come in? Sure, but right now that's not where we are. Contrary to the popular belief, where everybody in the crypto space wants you to believe and buy into, we're having some deep problems with the financial system. We're having deep problems with the bonds, where bonds you could actually buy and hold, and they would give you beautiful return over the lifetime. Right now, you are lucky to maybe even break even, if that. If that. Whereas with the cash, you definitely are losing on the value. So a lot of people understand that. What they don't understand is that Bitcoin is a monetary network, and as a monetary network, it's capable of storing and channeling energy over time without power loss. Right? Volatility will dwindle over time in the Bitcoin, and I've been saying that, and I still believe in that. He thinks Bitcoin will be larger than the biggest companies on earth, including Apple, Amazon, and Facebook combined. Now, here is what's going to happen. I think that as investors start to understand Bitcoin's story, they're going to move their capital into it. And it's going to move it into the network. And that's going to create a virtuous cycle of adoption, followed by price appreciation. And as the price appreciates, more people jump in and adopt. As more people jump and adopt, the price appreciates even more and potentially faster, followed by the value accretion, followed by the technology innovation. And he's saying that, we're seeing Square and PayPal and that kind of stuff getting into Bitcoin. Soon it will be Apple and Google as well. And not only them, but I think more companies are going to start coming in. And I personally believe, and I'm not the only one, that there will be countries, not companies, countries, if there aren't already, that are starting to invest into Bitcoin. They just potentially haven't announced it, because you don't want to announce it right now while you're in the buying mode, right? You announce it after you buy, because you don't want to move the price right now. You want to move it later, right? And it's the ideal time to plug into it, because 99% of investors don't understand what I just said. So there you go, folks. Thank you for watching. I super appreciate you. If you're brand new to the whole channel, do me a huge favor. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the notification. Do hit the like button if there's such a thing anywhere around you. Help me help more people, and let's spread the news and the knowledge. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.